Hey folks, this is Mitch. Today we're going to talk about Seller Marketer, and this is the function that teaches you how to find sellers that happen to have house problems. So this is Module 1, the introduction. I want to introduce you to the Joint Venture Team Operating Framework. If you've never seen this beautiful diagram before, this describes at a glance the 7 functions that are required to execute a successful joint venture deal, specifically for wholesaling, but this will work for other modes as well. And specifically today we're going to talk about that one, Seller Marketer, which happens to be the very first function. It is I won't say it's the most important, but it is a critical function in that it kicks off the start of this entire process. Nothing happens until the seller marketer gets some success. And so we're going to talk a bit about what that means and how that works. So yes, in the joint venture team operating framework, the seller marketer function is the very first function in the list. I've identified the share of the wholesale fee that function is entitled to in my estimation. This is again the way we have been doing these deals, and they get about a 15% share. So for example, if the wholesale deal is generating a $10,000 wholesale fee, then the seller marketer would get $1,500 of that $10,000 for doing their job well and completely. So let's talk about that. What exactly does the seller marketer do that earns them 15% of the wholesale fee? The seller marketer's job is to identify prospective sellers within target marketing groups. For example, tired landlords, for sale by owners, pre-foreclosure, expired listings. These are all types of marketing groups. It's their job to identify the sellers within those groups for the purposes of trying to see if we can get them to raise their hand and say that they want us to do a deal with them. They're also responsible for obtaining the contact data for these prospective sellers. So once you identify a specific tired landlord, then the seller marketer's job is to get the contact data so that we can reach out to them, so that we can contact them and see if in fact they are interested. And then that's exactly what we do. We send them targeted marketing messages, text, email, phone, direct message, whatever we have to do to these prospective sellers to see if we can interest them in having us work with them, to see if they have problems that are sufficiently significant that they want to talk to someone about possibly selling their property, their home, their house. And once someone raises their hand and says that they're interested, it's the seller marketer's job not to talk to these folks extensively, but to forward them on to the next step in the process towards nailing down a deal. So the seller marketer is the one identifying prospective sellers, contacting them, and doing pretty much all of the activity until someone says, okay, yep, I like what you're proposing. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Let's talk in more detail about how we can have you buy my house. And then at that point, the seller marketer hands that off to the next phase, the next function, and does it again. But before they do that, they are responsible for formulating potential deal disposition strategies. And we'll talk about some examples of that. But the deal disposition strategy is specifically, if someone buys this seller's property, their house, what are they going to do with it? What does it make sense for someone to do with it if they were to buy it? And that's a critical part of deciding whether or not you want to buy someone's property, is to figure out, well, if I bought it, what would I do with it? And there are a variety of ways, a variety of things you can do with it, and therefore a variety of ways that you could potentially go. How do you know which way to go? And the answer is you've got to analyze each of those potential deal disposition strategies and see which ones make sense and which ones don't. So not only does a seller marketer have to identify a prospective seller who's raised their hands and said, yes, I'm interested in hearing more about what you have to offer, they've also got to spend some time thinking through, well, what would we do here? How would we work this? What kind of arrangement would make sense if someone were to buy this?